I think going to HBS was very helpful in instilling confidence. It's a moniker of some passage, of some accomplishment that you got through Harvard Business School. And again, I think the opportunity to see so many other achievers was very reaffirming, and I think gave a lot of people confidence and also a glimpse into the possibilities that they themselves can accomplish.
Welcome, everybody, to the Leadership Chronicles. This is the podcast sponsored by the HBS Women Association, and we are so excited to have our guests today. Welcome to Secretary Elaine Chao. Elaine, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
We're thrilled to have you. And let me just say a quick hello to my co-host, Sarah. So great to see you.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Sherri.
Great. Well, we have a great show today because we have Secretary Chao with us and so much to learn from this wonderful experience and career. Let me start by showering the audience with this incredible bio of Elaine's career and her life. It's so amazing. In fact, I was telling the folks earlier, Elaine, when I read about you, sometimes I tear up because it's such an incredible story.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try my best not to tear up. Okay, to the audience. Secretary Chao is the very first Asian Pacific American woman to serve in the president's cabinet in American history. She has been confirmed to 2 cabinet positions by the United States Senate with overwhelming bipartisan support. And she was the U.S. Secretary of Labor and the U.S. Secretary of Transportation. She's also the longest serving cabinet secretary since World War II. That alone is enough to just, have to take a deep breath and absorb that. At the U.S. Department of Transportation, Secretary Chao focused on keeping America's transportation system safe and efficient. She invested over $300 billion over a 3.5-year period and explored and invested in new technologies such as autonomous vehicles and drones and commercial space launches to build the transportation system of the future. And also with respect to COVID, she just kept everything running for all of us while we were all hunkered down during COVID. Thank you very much. And as U.S. Secretary of Labor, Secretary Chao focused on increasing the competitiveness of the U.S. Workforce in the global economy. She set new records for workplace safety, health, and ensured that over 44 million Americans, retirees, secured their retirement benefits and security for themselves by spearheading the passage of the most significant pension legislation in 30 years, the Pension Protection Act of 2006. Prior to being U.S. Secretary of Labor, Elaine was president and CEO of United Way, where she restored the public trust. And we can appreciate this, Sarah, when you were in nonprofit too, from a previous time when there was, some tarnishment of the financial management of that organization and abuse. Elaine also headed up the Peace Corps before that, and she launched programs in the newly liberated Baltic nations and the former Soviet Union, including Ukraine.
Yeah.
And then Elaine has also been a director on numerous public boards while out of government, including News Corp, HCA Healthcare, Ingersoll Rand, Wells Fargo, Protective Life, Dole Food, and NASD. She currently serves on the board of Kroger and technology companies in the mobility space. She's also been the director and trustee on many nonprofit boards, including Harvard Business School Board of Dean's Advisors, Harvard Business School Global Advisory Board, the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, United Way Worldwide, Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute, the Los Angeles 2028 Organizing Committee of Olympic and Paralympic Games. Yay. That's exciting, Elaine. And the Smithsonian Asian Pacific American Center Advisory Board. That's a lot. Again, let's digest.
I've been very fortunate.
Yeah, well, I think we're all fortunate too that you are a leader for all of us. Born in Taiwan, Elaine immigrated to America at the age of 8 and didn't speak a word of English, and then became a citizen at age 19. Elaine earned her undergraduate degree at Mount Holyoke College and her MBA from Harvard Business School. Okay, phew, we got through that. Huge. Great.
Couldn't hold the job.
And you have a great sense of humor on top of it.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So it is just so amazing to hear this story. And we can't wait to dig in. So we want to start. It all starts always with our podcast, with where we all began, which was at HBS. So can you tell us a little bit about what drew you to HBS in the first place? How did you get there? What was your experience like? Who was in your section and what did you learn?
You know, I was so outside of mainstream America that we really didn't even know people from Harvard. And my wonderful father worked so hard to get us in touch with people who went to Harvard. And the purpose was for me to understand how to even apply. So I can't think of very many people that I know who was so outside, again, of the mainstream. And I really didn't know whether I was really confident about applying, but my father was wonderful and he encouraged me to do so. But to do so, that meant that we had to prepare, which is why we had to meet some Harvard people so that we understood what the process was like. So through my 2 years at the business school, I was terribly anxious. I just wanted to survive in the first year. I just wanted to do well. I was so determined to stay in. I just loved the experience. I've never met a group of more motivated people who really had great plans and hopes and dreams for the future. So it was really, really exciting. So in my section was Meg Whitman,
Wow.
later to become the first CEO of eBay. We also had Jeff Skilling, Mary Cunningham, John Thane, who later became head of Merrill Lynch. And we also had John Lynch, who became a 3-time governor of New Hampshire.
It's like a who's who in American history and commerce and government.
This economy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there are so many private equity big stars now from our class as well.
Wow. And so when you were with this wonderful class and they were with you, the wonderful you, did you ever have a sense that any of you would
No, we were all students. We were all, I think, trying to get through the Harvard Business School experience. But as I mentioned, one of the great things that was so interesting and stimulating about being at Harvard was just the number of interesting people who had dreams, who were so motivated, and you just knew they were going to go ahead and do really interesting things. And by and large, I think the majority of people in our classes have gone on to do really interesting things in all these different classes.
It's amazing what everybody has ended up doing, and look at you yourself. So when you look back at those times, Elaine, what kind of valuable ideas stuck with you?
I think going to HBS was very helpful in instilling confidence, not only in me, in myself, but this is what I hear from other classmates and students as well.
I would agree.
It's a moniker of some passage, of some accomplishment as you got through Harvard Business School. And again, I think the opportunity to see so many other achievers was very reaffirming, and I think gave a lot of people confidence and also a glimpse into the possibilities that they themselves can accomplish. It lifted expectations as to what can be accomplished and what can be achieved. And I think that's very helpful.
I would totally agree. Like when I think about what I walked away with, I love that term confidence. And it was confidence of thought, but confidence of voice. That to me, having gone into HBS, I didn't have that. And it was such a strength.
And the fact that you got through that program and you emerged, successful, that alone is a confidence booster. Yes, for sure.
And you see all these other classmates and schoolmates around you who've done wonderful things.
Are you still in touch with any of them?
Oh, I'm in touch with a lot of people. I'm pretty, I'm very interested in connections and in people. So leads us to another topic. When I was younger, when I went to business school, I literally can memorize like everybody in the class, pretty much. I would know not only their names, but their backgrounds, where they went to school, what state they came from, what their background was, if they were married, who they were married to, their wife's name, if they had kids, their kids' name, if they had dogs and cats, I would remember that as well. I just had it. I thought it was just something that everybody else had.
Well, wait, did you make it a point to find this out about everybody and remember it? Or did it just come
We had a picture book, remember? So I just went through that. And I was so interested in my classmates.
You remembered everything about all of them.
Yeah, it came very effortlessly. But I always thought that everybody had that ability. I didn't realize it was actually quite unique.
It is unique. It's very, and the leaders that stand out. I actually studied this. I'm fascinated by leaders who do that, and you do that. It's making sure that you remember the little things, and people feel like they are heard by you just because the fact that you remembered.
And it wasn't burdensome.
Yeah,
it wasn't a burden. It just came effortlessly to me because I was so interested in my classmates. I was so happy to be on campus. And I think that helped a lot in terms of overcoming a lot of challenges. Yeah, so no matter how difficult it was, I was always just so grateful and just so happy to be there. So there was no way I was not going to stay in.
And your investment in getting to know them just demonstrates you care about them.
So I think for young women or for women, you have to be yourself in many ways. Mm-hmm. You have to do what is comfortable for you. And then you also have to have confidence in your own abilities. And leadership, it doesn't come in one special package. It comes in different ways, in different manifestations, and you have to do what is comfortable for you. But that doesn't mean that you don't listen. So that's another quality I think that I was very good at, because I was not very pushy and I wasn't constantly touting myself. I was always listening. And perhaps that was a reflection of my Asian background, but I listened a lot. And I found that that was a very effective tool for leadership.
It is. It is, because when you listen that carefully, you pick up things that so many others miss and use it to your advantage as being a leader. I wonder, if a lot of what happened in your family and your upbringing helped you cultivate that kind of talent.
Elaine, I'd love to hear more about the influence that your Asian background and that your parents had. And I know you shared just how you adore them and have such great respect for them. But, talk to us about the influence your dad had and then your mom and their relationship.
Our country is so much more diverse now. So when I was growing up and coming of age, it was not as comfortable for me to talk about my Asian background because there were so few of us. I think we are now so much more open and more tolerant and more welcoming and embracing of cultural differences.
Absolutely.
So my cultural background was one in which we listened a lot more. We were on 90% intake, 10% output. Whereas I think mainstream America, when I was in business school,
the opposite.
So much more just complete output and so little input. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't very comfortable with that. And it took a long time for me to get used to that. But I grew up in a very loving, very secure family background, and I'm so blessed. We came as immigrants. The initial years were very difficult, but what gave us strength and resiliency was hope for the future and the complete confidence that this was a just and a decent country. My parents are such patriots, and they imbued within their daughters, and there were 6 daughters, that if we worked hard, we can do anything we wanted in the world, regardless of gender. And so that was very empowering.
And 3 of your sisters were born here, and 3 of you were born in Taiwan. Is there a noticeable difference in the paths
Absolutely.
they took?
So we're like, there's 6 daughters, 20 years apart in total. We're almost like 2 generations. So the first 3 that were born in Taiwan are first generation. We're still to this day incredibly frugal, and we're much more Asian in our outlook than the following 3 who were born in America. They were much more Americanized, and they came at a time when our financial situation was much better. But through it all, my parents imbued within all of us, that if we worked hard, if we had dared to dream, that there would be so many opportunities. So my parents really encouraged us to look beyond our immigrant circle and explore. And so they actively encouraged us to expand our horizons, to push the envelope as to what was acceptable to our immigrant community. And I think that sense of curiosity was very helpful in helping us realize our dream, find our voice, and also find our place, basically, in America.
And I loved when you just stated that, they taught you that one of the most valuable assets in your life is hope. And I was thinking about it as I was reading our notes before our conversation. It's like, all too often in business, you hear that hope is not a strategy, and it's not, right? You need business strategies, but hope is like the most incredible source of energy and empowerment.
And you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in the future. So however way that is defined, I think for entrepreneurs, for anyone trying to do anything worthwhile, there are going to be challenges.
Yeah.
That's life. And it took me a long while to understand that. So whatever, worthwhile venture your listeners are trying to embark upon, get engaged in, just expect problems. That is your role, to solve problems.
Yeah.
I mean, there's never a smooth path in anything that is worthwhile pursuing. And so the issue is how to be a problem solver, not to get discouraged by the problems that come along one's way, and just to forge forward.
And you know what? Your parents really modeled that. And that must be coming from that,
Yeah.
They're really strong people, very resilient, very determined. Nothing was going to stand in their way. But it wasn't so intense and horrible. It was more like their way of living. That life was interesting, and we're going to have interesting times, and we're going to stay with it, and life was going to get better.
I love that. Positive.
Very positive. That's exactly it.
And Elaine, you had shared too that their marriage and their relationship was a role model for you.
My parents were partners. So my mother is a traditional housewife, and yet she offered my father incredible help and support in being a sounding board for him. He's an entrepreneur, and it's very lonely to be an entrepreneur. There's nobody to talk to. And it was very lonely when, he began to build and made it as a CEO. There was nobody to talk to. And he had friends, of course, but there are many things that one cannot discuss with others. And so my mother provided a very valuable sounding board. She was also incredibly insightful. She had unique perspectives, and she was a very good judge of people. So that complemented my dad, who tended to be very optimistic and trusted everybody and had these great ideas. And she was, again, kind of like a check on him. They were separated for 3 years, when they were very young, when he first came to America on a whim, on a risk, uh, very risky proposition to build a new life in America. And they were true and faithful to one another. She wrote letters to him every single day.
Oh, amazing. And he's still around, or?
Yes, he's in his 90s. He's in good health. And, after my sister died, he came back as chairman and a founder. And the company is doing very well. It's got a very strong management team. So we're very lucky.
There's so much to talk about, Elaine. We could spend all day with you. But it's fascinating, the influence of your parents. And I could see the servant leader that you are. Of course, you're all about being a servant leader. But let's talk about right after HBS, you went into banking. My first question to you on this is, why this switch up? Like, what happened? Like, what made you realize I want to focus on the federal government and public sector and serving the people?
So for a lot of people, who wonder whether they should have a master plan, I didn't have a master plan. I think the world changes so rapidly that it's hard to have a master plan.
Yeah.
But what I was endowed with is an incredible sense of curiosity and an awareness of possible opportunities, and to be prepared to be able to grab these opportunities when they came along. And that, again, I think was, taught to us by my parents. I mean, I grew up in an environment in which the world was so small. It was an immigrant community, and we didn't know anything about the greater world outside. But my father and mother said, there's a greater world outside, and you have to go out and find the opportunities and be aware of the opportunities. And again, it wasn't grasping. It was just, the world is so fascinating. You have so much to learn. Isn't it exciting to go out there and see it? So after business school, I went to Citibank because that was what kind of was the path that was,
right,
given to all of us. And then when I was at Citibank, I met a young woman who was a vice president, who at that time was a big deal to me. And she was a White House fellow. And so through her, I got to know about the White House Fellows Program. And I was so confused about America and about the government. I had done government deals, and they were a nightmare. It took forever. The bureaucracy was awful. If I ever did a government deal, it would take like 6 to 8 months. The 35 lawyers on their side, just poor little me. And I wonder, how can such inefficiency occur? And so I couldn't figure, I said, I refuse to be confused until I finally understand what is going on. And so that prompted me to go into the federal government. And then after I was in the White House for 1 year, I left. I was going to go back into the private sector. But then what happened was I received a phone call from one of Elizabeth Dole's assistants who said, Elizabeth remembers you from the White House. And she has, and I have this in writing, which was so nice. Elizabeth wrote that there was this young woman, Elaine Chao, who was really hardworking, who was really smart. And if you gave her an assignment, she would get it back to you like immediately. And it would be pretty perfect.
There you go.
So I didn't realize it at the time, but so this is another piece of advice. People are watching all the time. And if you perform, there will be opportunities, because there will be people who are just so eager to find, people who would be able to perform and get a job done, and who did it quickly, accurately, and comprehensively. I think those are the three.
But you rose to the top. How did you do that? Because, and that's another thing for the audience.
I loved what I was doing.
But how did you get to be you were the U.S. Secretary of Labor, Secretary of Transportation.
I mean, a lot of this, you just have to, number one, I think you have to love what you're doing. And you can't plan for everything. Because again, the world changes too much. Number two, there are all these people involved. People that you have not yet met, people that you have not yet known, and yet they will determine your future. and they will determine your accomplishments. Looking back, I didn't understand this when I was, climbing up. I didn't understand this at all. But I focused on my boss, and I
Oh.
understood what my boss wanted
Mhm.
and how they wanted things. So I did things in the way that they wanted to be done. So it's not just doing what I wanted to be done, but it's to understand
Yeah.
my boss, how they thought and what they wanted and how they wanted it done. And so, that I didn't understand that I could do that. I didn't understand that I had that talent. And I was so hardworking. I was reachable. I know it's not very popular these days with work-life balances, but I would have slept in Elizabeth Dole's office if she left. I was so interested, so eager, and so interested in just finding out how things worked. So I think to, for advice for young women or whatever, number one, you have to love what you're doing and you do have to work hard. I mean, that's kind of like
Yeah.
that's a given. And then beyond that, what are your special skills? Is it insightfulness? Is it perspective? A certain perception, a certain perspective. I mean, but most of all, you have to really like it. You have to love what you're doing.
I was just going to ask you, pick any kind of challenge. How did you were wildly successful in a very male dominated industry, both in banking, federal government, public service, and yet it never daunted you.
Oh, it daunted me plenty, as we say in Kentucky. It was challenging. There was nothing in these positions. And that's the other thing also for people who are, making their way up. It's never easy. So get used to it.
Get used to
And
it.
yep. And then you're in a position where it's always going to be problems. I mean, in being the secretary, every single moment of every single day was problems. I mean, it was always trouble, because if it was something that was simpler, it would have been solved already. So it just came to you. Only the toughest problems came. And so what enabled me to handle that, but I'm just so grateful to be in a position where I can actually help solve problems, where I can help people, where I can make their lives better by making these systemic changes. And how lucky am I, faced with these problems, that I can do stuff like that?
Elaine, I wish we had more leaders that thought that way. I really wish we had more like you out there.
Yeah.
I think actually there are a lot of public servants who think that way.
Oh, that's good.
That it's their privilege to be able to serve the American people and to be able to be in these positions where we can solve problems to really help people.
Yeah.
I'm Christian. I'm obviously I'm a person of faith, and I think you're never given more than you can handle. I have had a kind of I have worked my way up, and in every single one of these leadership positions, I have been challenged. I have also learned, and I think I've learned to be a better leader that prepared me for the next step. I think if you were to go from 0 to 60, that would be very hard. One of my cabinet colleagues, when I first became Secretary of Labor, said to me, "Wow, you know everybody in the room." And I said, "Yes, I do." And he says, "Boy, I've never been at this national level before. It's really tough." And it is really tough for someone like him who's never had any experience at the national level. You need to build up the network of support, not so much they're supporting you, so that you can see reality for what it is, and you can get clear and accurate feedback so that you know what to do.
I've just been sitting here as you've been sharing this story, Elaine, thinking her superpower, well, superpowers, but one of them is clearly that genuine interest in developing relationships, right? Like being curious about other people. And, I've always operated that the successful leader is only as successful as their team and as their partnerships.
Absolutely.
And you're all over that. Yeah.
Another piece of advice I would give is, I think when we were younger and less secure, we were afraid of hiring good people. At least I was. I wasn't quite sure. Are they going to be loyal? Whatever. But I have found loyalty, as I mentioned before, it's something to be earned. And it's a gift given to you by, as a leader, by others. But if you are confident enough to hire really smart people, you're going to look better as a leader. When they do well, it reflects on you as a leader.
That's the
So,
emotional intelligence that you have
yeah.
that really made you stand out.
Let's shift over to what are your current adventures? Like, Sherri had shared earlier in your incredible and awesome bio that you're on a couple of boards. So how do you spend your days today?
So after stepping down from government, many government officials attach themselves to a think tank and kind of still participate in the policy world. And then it's a portfolio life in which we sit on a number of corporate boards. We sit on nonprofit boards. We get involved with many other activities. So for me, that includes nonprofit activities. And I'm now very much involved in trying to start in helping the effort, the movement to establish a National Asian Pacific American Museum of Culture and History. I've been very, very saddened by what's happened during COVID and the anti-Asian, uh, sentiment, because I think our country is so much better than that. And we have always been so embracing and tolerant of other peoples from all over the world. We are a nation of immigrants. And this anti-Asian bias sentiment has been shocking. And so I believe in the transformative power of education. And if we can educate more people to understand the the Asian American experience and also the history and culture which has marked Asian countries and the heritages that so many Asians now possess, I think it will help us decrease this anti-Asian bias and these sentiments which are so harmful to our country.
Yeah. And to your point, it absolutely is education, but the onus is on all of us, right? Like it's we should be seeking that education if we're not as familiar with a community or a culture or, yeah.
And I am not a victim. I am not a proponent of this victimization theory. In fact, all my life, I've always believed that, we can forge our own destinies. But I think what happened during COVID was just so sad. It was so sad. And so I want to add my efforts to those who are trying to establish this museum. And so I've been spending time on that.
I love that. That's terrific. I think America needs more of that. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of marginalized communities and should particularly on that.
What some rhetoric may be, we are now a majority. We're going on the path of the majority minority. And that all makes us stronger because it enables us to understand the rest of the world in a very globalized economy. Yeah. And so I think for a lot of people, this is very frightening.
Yeah.
How do we bring them all together?
Elaine, how do we bring people together? Like what's the secret?
And that's the big key. And we have a new challenge now with artificial intelligence. To some, it will be a savior. But to others who are unable to grasp onto that, to that phenomenon, well, what happened to them?
Yeah.
How do we ethically, how do we ethically develop AI in a way that will be fair, that will be just, and that will not leave others behind? These are tough questions.
Yeah. And having the sensibility coming from like the Secretary of Labor experience, of course, and you take a look at the workforce and a lot of people, their jobs are on the line.
Now we find this new frontier, AI, that's replacing information workers. So what is the role now of leaders in managing, introducing this new world? It's got lots of positives, no question about it, but it will also uh, have some negatives, which I think leaders must deal with.
Amen. Very good that you're talking about this. I think it should be a topic top of mind for everybody.
So I'm very optimistic. I mean, I'm so excited for women. When I was starting out, there were so much less opportunities for women than there are now. And so I think
Glad to see
my
that.
advice, to young women and to women is just go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it. There's so many opportunities. It's so exciting. I see so many women doing so many exciting things. Being CEOs of major corporations, not enough, but so much better than before. And then also the number of women who are involved in startups. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Now, if we could get them funded, equally as much as male founders are getting funded.
And there again, just go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Love that, Elaine.
Have courage. Go for it.
Oh, gosh. Well, Elaine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I know our audience is going to be inspired by you. So we have fun questions that we like to ask at the end.
Yes.
And we'll just ask you two, because I know we've taken more than enough of your time. But I'll kick us off. What is your favorite movie of all times?
Well, all times is a big one, but there's a Korean drama called Crash Landing on You. And I got into K-drama during COVID because we were all locked in.
I have to check this out.
So all the Senate, young female Senate staffers were watching K-drama. So I got into it, and it talks about these star-crossed lovers, one from North Korea, one from South Korea, and what happens to them. But it also gives a very realistic view about life in North Korea now.
All right. Can't go wrong with that. Okay. My question for you, Elaine, is what's a secret talent you have that nobody knows you have?
I don't know whether it's a talent that nobody knows I have, but I'm a good listener.
Oh, yes. Well, that's obvious.
I still mentor many, many people that I have led in the past, and they still come to me for, letters of recommendation, introductions. And I think I'm a good mentor.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Amen again. Thank God that you're there for so many people that you have impacted with your life. All of America, many, many times over, and just all the people that know you. So your leadership is just astounding. It's wonderful. And I just want more people to be like you.
Well, the two of you are pretty impressive as well. So I'm great admirers of the two of you. And thank you for bringing just, female models and role models and also leaders.
That was the goal.
To the audience.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing that.
We want to shine the spotlight on incredible leaders and people like you.
Great.
So Elaine, thanks again. We are so honored to have you. It was wonderful to just catch up with you. I want to keep doing it, actually. Love your stories.
And I want to tell your viewers and your listeners, never give up. There's so many exciting things happening in this world. Just never give up.
Wow. Perfect words. And with that, sadly, we must close this chapter, but thank you again. Just to the audience, you can see our podcast. Go to the HBS Women Association webpage. There's a podcast tab that you could go to, and you can see the listing of the podcast there. But it's on all your favorite channels. It's on Apple. It's on Amazon. It's on where is it? YouTube. So Spotify also. So everybody take a listen. And also we'll probably have some websites to go to Elaine Chao's website. And there's some really interesting history and information about Elaine's family that's at the hbs.edu library type section of our website at HBS. You can check out the Chao family. So great to have you again, Elaine.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.